Welcome to KMVC News. I'm Sakina Camero. Missouri Valley's COVID-19 active case count is nearly double the count from our newscast a week ago. Missouri Valley has 35 active cases on campus, up from 21 on September 29th. This represents slightly more than 2% of the overall college campus population. The uptick affected some fall sports, and KMVC News is going through those changes later in the broadcast. The Missouri Valley College Student Government Association has had to make a lot of adjustment over the last several months due to the move to online classes in the spring and the protocol for the fall. KMVC's Cooper Bryan reports how SGA is re-establishing its footing in the COVID era.
Missouri Valley College Student Government Association is a lot larger an organization than many students realize at first glance. MVC student and SGA presidential applicant Joy Reynolds says that it is the link between the students and the faculty.
So SGA is Student Government Association, and it essentially advocates for the students' concerns on campus, and it also gives them support financially with whatever events or activities they want to put on campus.
Student Government Association is also described by moval.edu as the parent organization to all campus organizations, who gives the student of MVC the ability to have an interactive role in the growth of the college outside of the classroom. Reynolds says that she wanted to be involved in the organization because she wants to help guide the college in deciding what students want and need on campus. Much like everything else in 2020, the process has changed in how SGA will conduct its role this year. Reynolds says that the process has been very different than in years past, where it was a more open format.
This year we had to send our resume and references to Heath Morgan.
In an email sent out to the student body in late September, the Vice President of Student Affairs, Heath Morgan, said that the Student Government Association wasn't able to conduct their normal elections after the global pandemic made its impact in the spring of 2020. So they are trying to get the process started again, and they are looking for applicants to fill the vacant position of SGA President. After the resumes and references are collected, Vice President Morgan will hold an election to be voted on by the student body. Cooper Bryant, KMVC News.
Students must submit applications for Student Government President Morgan's office by October 9th. Every student on campus is learning to make the adjustment necessary to thrive this year with all of the new protocols in place, and that includes complying with the Americans with Disabilities Act. KMVC's Maria Diaz reports how Missouri Valley is meeting ADA requirements to make learning accessible to everybody.
Professors and staff at Missouri Valley College are doing their all to make sure that every student is getting the information they need despite the changes that have been made on campus. Debbie Coleman, the head of ADA, says they have been helping students with disabilities stay on track.
So we offer all kinds of things like extended time and copies of notes, different things that they can do to help them, but they have to be able to get everything the same way, just as much information, but maybe get the information in a different way. Because when they graduate, we want them to be just as prepared for their profession as everybody else that graduates.
Rhonda Reither, the head of the Learning Center, says that she helps students who require specific accommodations take their tests in an environment that is suited for their success.
During here at the Learning Center, we provide accommodations for those students that have a disability that may keep them from taking the test in the classroom with the rest of the students. So for example, they may need extended time, or they may need the test read to them, or they may have other accommodations that they can come here and get those.
Reither says it has been interesting to see all the different accommodations professors have come up with during this time. Marina Diaz, KMVC News.
Fulfilling ADA requirements is federal law, and it's another of the challenges that has faced college campus across the country. Missouri Valley College students are not allowed to have guests in their room due to social distancing rule this semester. This situation affected students' mental health.
Communication is as important as the basic needs for human beings, such as food, clothing, and shelter. However, practicing social distancing makes students have less opportunity to spend time with their friends, and it leads to a lack of communication. When you lack communication, you are less likely to be motivated and tend to be frustrated easily. which affects your mental health. A Japanese psychological counselor, Chizuka Komuro, talks about how to have good mental health practicing social distancing.
たとえソーシャルディスタンスを取らなければならなくても、
Even though you have to have social distancing, you can make eye contact and smile at each other, tell your friends how proud you are of them, give them kind words. These actions ease the frustration caused by this situation. Social distancing might bother students to communicate like they used to do before the COVID-19 pandemic. However, student athlete Jalil Howard makes good use of technology to keep communicating with his company.
What I really do is I focus more on speaking them through Zoom or through Instagram or Facebook, any way I can connect with them.
Howard also said there is a good side of this situation because he can work on himself and personally develop himself.
Missouri Valley has mental health service on campus. Students may contact Teresa Shuselski in the Malcolm Center Counseling Center for help. Missouri Valley College hits its half point last week with midterms, and with COVID impacting college campuses across the country, this is a huge milestone. KMVC's Shale Wilson reports on the success of the pandemic protocol at Missouri Valley.
As midterms hit at Missouri Valley, the college has had a relatively small number of COVID cases since the start of the semester. With most of these cases being contained in a small number of sports programs, head athletic trainer Vince Federowicz says this semester has been hard, and he has never had to experience such an easily transmissible virus in his career.
So overall, I do think that we've done a really good job. We definitely have, but it takes a lot, and there's a lot that goes into it.
One of the biggest obstacles many students face at Missouri Valley is the limited crowds.
I know at one point we were kind of thinking about if we were going to allow outside people in to the events and all that, and I don't think that that's going to change. I don't think that's changing at all. I think it kind of seems like we're having a little bit of an uptick just around Missouri and around the U.S. just in general.
Despite the many hard changes, many students, like Logan Esslinger, say they are surprised with the success of controlling the virus.
I think the school is doing great at controlling the spread of COVID. They're doing their best to quarantine everybody with symptoms and everyone who has been tested positive for COVID.
For many student athletes, the control of COVID and face-to-face learning is what will allow them to compete in their season. Shea Wilson, KMVC News.
Missouri Valley is continuing to follow current protocol for health and distancing. The coverage remains a closed campus until further notice. The Missouri Valley sports schedule continued to change in the wake of COVID-19 spikes throughout the conference. The men's soccer team schedule has the fewest adjustment. The men's and women's game against Central Methodist is moving one day to October 28th. The games against CMU are moving because the women's team is now slated to play Park on October 26th. That's the makeup date from Saturday's postponement. The game against Benedictine on October 6th is now set for 14th. Both the men's and women's Heart of America Athletic Conference tournaments are pushed back 1 week to accommodate the schedule changes. The women's volleyball team schedule was adjusted, eliminating the remainders of cross-division games. The Vikings finished the regular season against teams from the Hard South Division. The first game with the new schedule is October 6th. The first home game is October 9th. The November 3rd game against CMU may still move because November 3rd is election day. The Hard postseason tournament is also now 1 week later than it was originally scheduled. The revised basketball schedule is out. Missouri Valley is set to play 24 games. That's down from 30. 22 of the games are conference games. The hard schedule for Valley has the Viking playing a round robin against teams from the south and playing just once against teams from the north. The season begins on November 9th. And that's KMVC News for this week. Thanks for joining us. I'm Sakina Komuro.